Hey there, welcome to Magnus Streams, and this is Press Start, a video series where we analyze the first 15 to 20 minutes of gameplay and cinematics on any given game. We're looking to see if the intro keeps you hooked from the start or if it disappoints and leaves you craving for more. I'm Rao, and this is Press Start. The beginning of anything is probably the most important part because it's going to tell you if it's something that you're going to want to see through to the end or if it might be best to do something else with your time. Here at Magnus Streams, we're going to be looking at the following to see if an intro is going to want to make you stick around till the end. These are the things that the game chooses to show you first. Things such as the design of the intro screen, any startup options such as like difficulty setups, character select screens, things that take place even before we go ahead and press start. Pacing. And what I mean by that is, does the game start with a cinematic? Does it start with some gameplay? Is either one of those things something that's going to keep you want to come back to it? Does it keep you interested? Does it have its hooks on you? Last but not least, guidance. Here we're going to discuss what the game does as far as tutorials go. Things such as teaching you the controls, mechanics. Is this a game that's easy to pick up and play or something that's going to frustrate you and make you want to drop it? Alright, so to start up, we'll be looking at Resident Evil Remake that came out for the Nintendo GameCube on the year 2002. These days, you can find this gem on pretty much any system. The PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, Xbox One, even on the Nintendo Switch. On the cover of the game, you have one of the main protagonists, Jill, grappling with the zombie. This was very eye-catching for a game cover, which was good. As soon as the game boots up, we can see a glimpse of what you will be doing for the next 8 to 10 hours. After that chilling sequence, we arrive at the press start screen. And if you do as you are prompted, you will be taken to the startup menu. Given as we are only starting the game for the first time, we hit the new game prompt and we get the iconic
Resident Evil.
On any of the more modern iterations of the game, it will ask you some simple preference options. These are display, controls, and subtitles. Display lets you set the game for widescreen to fit your HD TV, or original to fit the dimensions of an old CRT monitor. This way the background images don't look so stretched out. Controls are set to original by default, which if you're a veteran of the series only means that the game will play using the standard tank controls, in which the stick moves forward and left and right to turn you around. Alternatively, the alternate controls just mean that the character will move to whichever direction the stick is pushed. This makes the gameplay a little faster, but in my opinion, is not the way the game was meant to be played. Subtitles are just whether you want the spoken dialogue to have subtitles or not. Moving on to the next screen, this sheet, believe it or not, is the difficulty setup. To make it easy, the top of the sheet is the easiest difficulty, and the lower part is the hardest difficulty. The biggest decision on how the game is played takes place at the start of the game. Yes, you heard me right. At the start of the game. And that decision is who your main protagonist is going to be. The crazy part is that both scenarios are more or less canon. Although if you ask hardcore Resident Evil fans, they'll probably tell you that the Jill scenario is canon over Chris's, mostly based on documents that you find in later games. This decision to split the story in two makes the game easy to digest in multiple playthroughs. And gameplay wise, it makes you want to go ahead and play the game as the second character just to see what they were getting up to while you were playing as the first one. After setting up the game, let's take a look at how the game officially decides to start.
Alpha Team is flying around the forest zone, situated in northwest Raccoon City, where we are searching for the helicopter of our compatriots, Bravo Team, who disappeared during the middle of their mission.
Haven't found it yet?
No, not yet, Brett. Bizarre murder cases have recently occurred in Raccoon City. There are outlandish reports of families being attacked by a group of about 10 people. Victims were apparently eaten. The Bravo Team was sent in to investigate, but we lost contact.
Look, Chris.
So, the game decides to start with the helicopter ride. During this ride, the game sets up the story by telling us what our heroes are investigating, and also a bit of backstory on the world by means of the news report that plays. Suddenly, everyone gets off the chopper and investigates the surrounding area.
We continued our search for the other members, and it turned into a nightmare.
At this point, we establish a bit of our setting. The game switches gears and sets up a tense and suspenseful mood. Our cast is wandering, all separated from each other in the woods. Then the scene shifts to Joseph Frost. You will notice at first he is not one of our protagonists, and after the suspense builds up, he gets killed. We don't quite get to see what kills him at first, and this is brilliant. For someone that does not know a thing about Resident Evil, this just makes you wonder what type of horrors you as a player will face during gameplay. At this point, suspense is traded for an explosive escape sequence. We finally get to see what killed Joseph and also see that our pilot has taken off with our only way of escape, turning tension to 11.
Hey! Brad! Where the hell's he going?
While being chased, the zombie dogs that killed Joseph nearly catch up to our heroes, but they get rescued in the nick of time by Captain Wesker.
Chris, this way!
After that, our cast finds a mansion in the distance and heads for it. The same mansion that will be the permanent setting for the rest of the story. At this point, the character you pick will summarize the current state of affairs and more or less the gameplay part of the game begins. If you pick Jill, you will notice that there is an increase in the number of cutscenes that play out. These do a great job at fleshing out the story, as well as making it a little less nerve-wracking on your first playthrough. Also of note is all the flavor text sprinkled throughout the level. Basically, flavor text shows up when you investigate items in the game space, and it basically shows what the character is thinking at the time. After that awesome intro sequence, let's discuss now what the game will be doing to introduce you to the controls and the mechanics that you'll be needing to play. Right off the bat, you can tell the game has no HUD or heads-up display, giving you information such as health or ammo count on your weapons anywhere on the screen. Also, the game does little in the way of guidance to get you used to the infamous tank controls, which made the series so famous. A useful maneuver in this game is pressing down on the D-pad or back on the analog stick along with the run button to do a quick 180-degree turn, which can get you out of trouble if used right. This is all regardless of which direction the character is facing. When you get to the game menu, you can see these large squares which show pictures of the items you currently have, and at the top it shows the files and maps you have collected. At the start of the game, you can see under Files the STARS Operations Manual, which goes a little bit in pointing you in the right direction for your first time through the Spencer Mansion. Another game mechanic that becomes self-explanatory quickly is the fact that in this game, in order to save your progress, you actually have to find an item to do it. And if you're unlucky, you can run out of them if they're misused. Combat is a simple affair which boils down to using the front right trigger on the controller to aim, and the action button to shoot. Also, in order to use a weapon, you have to make sure it shows as equipped on the inventory screen. One thing that was unique at the time when this game came out was the use of defensive items. Basically, these are one-time use weapons used to get away from an enemy attack. The cool thing about these is that they can either be set to be used automatically, or you can use your left front trigger on most versions of the game to use them. These were so useful in fact, that the mechanic made a brief comeback on the 2019 remake of Resident Evil 2. In conclusion, for a game that came out back in 2002, this game does a great job at the transition between intro screen to gameplay in just about 20 minutes. The boot up screen is terrifying even today. Playing it in a room with the lights out, and if you have a good set of headphones, it's very chilling experience. Very chilling indeed. Also, the menus are clean, stylized, and to the point. The game does its best, in my opinion, at the pacing itself. The intro cinematic is intriguing and very well voice acted. It's perfect for setting up the spooky mood that will permeate the rest of the experience. The in-game cutscenes are all in-engine cutscenes and show off the assets that the developers spend so much time making. The dual character system is great, since it encourages replayability to see the other side of the story that you missed. The game tries with the operations manual to give you a bit of a hand, but ultimately the lack of guiding systems means that you will be learning the ropes through trial and error, which means that a new player might burn through their supply of save items much more quickly than an experienced player. Where the game could do a little to improve itself is on the guidance systems in place.
Back when the game was released on the Nintendo GameCube, it came with the physical game manual,
which, if you took the time to read, explained the game mechanics pretty well. Sadly, the modern versions of the game lack this addition, especially if you get them digitally.
Overall, here at Magna Streams, we think that Resident Evil holds out extremely well in today's gaming scene. And encourage that if you're in the market for a scary experience, give Resident Evil a try. You won't regret it. This game is very accessible nowadays on modern consoles, and it just keeps getting better with time. As always, I would like to thank you for supporting us here at Magna Streams at the channel and the Facebook page. Please like and share the video if you found it fun. Also, please let me know in the comments below if you got a request for a game to do in a future version of this segment.